All right, what's up, guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, guys, we're going to be checking out Red Purple Law. That's right, ST10 Law, Trafalgar Law. This was from the Three Captains pack. And guys, this deck, as of today, because at the time of me recording and putting this video out, it is Friday, May 3rd, 2024. And EB01 is hitting the shelves like tonight, basically, or today, however you want to say it. And in EB01, there are two cards in particular. There's really going to be three we're going to talk about. You can kind of see them over here on the left of the screen here, a little chopper. But there are two cards in particular in EB01 that are coming out. One being Kid and Killer, the other being Bon Clay, that are going to take this deck into the S tier. It's going to take this deck from like, currently it's probably like in high A, like mid to high A tier, depending on the pilot. But after the release today from EB01, this deck, I believe personally, enters into the S tier category. And you guys, by all means, tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. And, you know, I love hearing what y'all say about that stuff. And if there's any comments, questions, suggestions, throw them down there, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. So real quick, guys, just to give a quick overview, like a quick layout of the video. First, we're going to be checking out some deck lists from the East that have been doing very well. We get some inspiration from. Then we're going to go over 7 games on the sim. That's right, 7 games, because a lot of these games are pretty quick. This is a pretty aggressive deck. And then finally, at the very end, we'll check out the deck list that I'm running and have some, you know, final thoughts on Red Purple Law. So let's dive straight into this, guys. We got you know, a bunch of different decks to look at. We're going to look at 3 decks from the East. We got all those games to go over and the whole overview. So let's just dive straight into it. So first up, the list we're looking at here. Actually, let me read what the leader does, and then we'll dive into it. So for the new players, this is a 5,000 power, 4 life, dual colored leader. It comes from ST10, right? So that's the starter deck, number 10 with the 3 captains. Ultimate, it's like the ST13 Ultimate, you know, 3 brothers or Ultra deck or whatever it is. But it was for the ST10 3 captains: Trafalgar Law, Luffy, and Eustace Kid. So this effect is what makes him. Y'all pay very close attention to this effect. Activate main once per turn. Dawn -3. Place up to one of your opponent's characters with 3,000 power or less at the bottom of the other's deck, excuse me, and play up to one character with a cost of 4 or less from your hand, okay? So, 2 different things going on there. You're going to bottom deck one of their characters, potentially, up to 1, so you could choose 0. And then you're going to play out one of your characters that costs 4 or less, up to 1, potentially 0. I say that like that because you can choose to do one or the other, or both, if you have legal targets. Or I guess potentially you could choose neither. You could just activate the effect and choose up to one opponent's character, not, you know, 0, and then up to one of your characters from your hand and choose 0, just to return Dawn to your Dawn deck and activate effects from something like Eustace Kid. It's just an option. Excuse me. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive into this this first list, which was a 300-player tournament from the East. They got first place. Now, unfortunately, something is wrong with this list because there are only 46 cards, which means 5 cards are missing because they count the leader as one of the cards. It should be 51 cards to a deck, but 5 cards are missing. So if anyone knows what the cards are that are missing, please put them down in the comment section below so you can help us out. If I had to guess, I think it's missing a 2K counter and maybe like a Miss All Sunday, because it's running a single Miss All Sunday. I'm not sure what kind of spice that is for the deck. Maybe it's like an inside joke amongst the guys, you know, friend group. But I think he's missing 4 Otamas. If I had to guess, again, this is just if I had to guess, I think he's missing 4 Otamas, but we'll have to see. But other than that, I'm going to run through the list and we'll talk about it. So 4 Gordon, 4 Raise Max, 4 Kid and Killer. This is a new card coming out in EB01 today that is very important to the deck. We'll talk about in a second. 4 Tony Chopper, another EB01 card. 3 Queen, 4 Ain, 1 Miss All Sunday, 4 Shashian Penguin. This isn't EB01, but this is a very important 2K counter in the deck. 3 Trafalgar Law. We're going to spend time talking about this as well, because going into OP07, hand destruction is a very big deal. 4 Eustace Captain Kid, 4 Raiju. These are 2 major engines in the deck as well. Getting this down and establishing this to draw cards is huge. And then the other EB01 card I was talking about earlier, Bon Clay, it's running 4 of these, and then 2 Sanjis. This is the only card from OP07 in the entire deck. Is the card good and beneficial to the deck? Sure. Yes, it is. Absolutely. But ultimately, at the end of the day, it is just a 2K counter we can replace with for now, with like Kalamazoo or whatever the guy's name is, that we can replace it with any kind of 2K counter we want. Okay. Excuse me. Now, there are some things that are interesting in this list I have to point out right away. Running Ain over Beppo is very perplexing to me, like personally, because Beppo is a 4-cost, 5,000 power character with a 1k counter that has on play add 1 Dawn from your Dawn deck and rested if you have less Dawn than your opponent. So there is that added stipulation at the end, but he is an on play and when attacking with that effect and the 1k counter. So I guess maybe they just want the Ain because it just always will give you the 1 Dawn, even if you're not behind in Dawn. But I don't know. It's kind of hard for me to imagine in my mind running this over Beppo. I'm not saying it's a bad card. Ain is a very strong card, and I was running this before we got access to Bond Clay. But now that we have access to this card, in my mind, it just makes more sense to run this and instead of Ain, running Beppo. But you guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Again, I'm not saying this is a bad card, and I understand the utility of just always being able to get that 1 Dawn. But with Beppo, if you can get more than 1 Dawn, like the potential is so strong. And then having the plus 1,000 counter is so nice as well. Everything else is pretty straightforward. Let me talk about these new EV01 cards. Kid and Killer, this card is absolutely destructive. Like it demolishes everything in a deck like Red Purple Law. Because it would already be insane if it was just a 4-cost 7k that attacks, which is kind of what it is. Like, pause the video right here and read what this does if you don't know what it already does. But imagine if it was a 0-cost swing for 7. Because that's essentially what you can do with your Leader's Effect. Because this is a 4-cost or less character, right? So you're going to be able to bust it out with a Leader's Effect, which is massive. And remember, for those who are not aware, I do have to do a little technicality thing here. Dawn -3. Okay, hear me out for a second, guys. I'm going to get a little bit technical. Pay close attention. In One Piece, there are 3 different orientations for Dawn. There are 3. It is active, rested, and attached. Those are 3 totally different things. However, when you Dawn -X, whatever the number is for Dawn minus, you can return a Dawn from any of those 3 locations or any of those 3 orientations. It doesn't matter if it's attached to a character, if it's rested, or even active. You know, you wouldn't want to use an active Dawn, obviously, but you could if you needed to. Hopefully you guys understand what I'm saying. So imagine you just swung out your entire turn, you played out characters, you did everything, whatever you were doing for that turn, and you have 0 Dawn left active, right? It's all attached or rested. Your opponent might think, oh, I'm safe now. Bad news. You're never safe again, right? Like, as far as this leader goes, because of a card like Kid and Killer, you could just return 3 Dawn that was attached or rested and just play this card out and swing 7. It is like it's like the finisher for this deck now. Very, very strong. I do think Zoro is still very good in this spot as well. It's a little bit weaker, obviously. It's a lot weaker, to be honest. But it's still a good rush card. You know, it is something you can take advantage of if you don't have access to this card. But it's not as strong. Now, we do have to talk about... Actually, let me finish up the EV01 guys real quick, and then we'll go back to Gordon, because we have to talk about it. Excuse me. Okay, so right here we got Tony Chopper. This is a 3-cost, 4,000 power, 1k blocker from EV01. Listen to this Dawn ×2. I had a feeling this card was going to be good, guys. I do have this in my deck that we're playing, that we're going to see me play today in the video. Dawn ×2, when attacking, give up to one of your opponent's characters minus 3,000 power during this turn. That is way better than it might sound. Number one, he becomes a 6k attacker if you attach to Dawn, right? But then minus 3,000 power, remember what we're trying to do with our leader. We can only hit characters that are 3,000 power or less. So if they have a 6,000 power character, yikes, what are we supposed to do, right? Well, that's where Gordon, Raise Max, excuse me, and Tony Chopper come in very clutch, because they can minus 3,000 power to a 6k character, and then boom, you can bottom deck it and get it out of here. Doesn't matter if it has an it doesn't matter if the character has like an on KO effect, or if it can't be KO'd by effects. It's gone because it's bottom deck. So this card is very powerful, and it's a 1k counter, and it's a blocker. So this card has a lot of potential in the deck, and I really like it. What else? There's one more. Okay, and then finally, Bond Clay. Pause this and read it if you don't know what it does. It just allows you to put a card on the board that they have to answer. They have to KO that card or bounce it back or do something with it. Bouncing it back's not very good, obviously, because you can play it out and add another Dawn, right? Active. It can ramp Dawn on play. But that when attacking, okay, if they have like a 9,000 power character on the board, they're going to wish they didn't have that character on the board unless they can get rid of this character. So this card is very powerful, and it's a 1k counter. Extremely, extremely solid card. Okay, it's time to talk a little bit about Gordon. I'm going to bring this page up. Y'all give me just a second here. This card is becoming like the Jinbei. Whoopsies. It's becoming like the Jinbei from back when what just happened? I'm sorry, guys. We just lost my screen. Y'all give me just a second. Oh, gosh. I don't know what just happened. I apologize. But we're back now. Okay, so this is the card I was trying to bring over, or this is the page I was trying to bring over. Gordon is like $40 a card right now. And I don't know. Let me refresh it to make sure. Maybe it's moved a little bit because I had this up this morning. 41. Okay, it's just going up. This card is a promo card. So you can't really get these anymore, right? So whatever's on the market, that's like all people have. And Red Purple Law is shaping up to be one of the best decks, if not the best deck in the format, you know, going into EB01 and OP07. So this is a real nightmare situation. I'm hoping they find a way to resolve this. I'll try to remember to talk a little bit about this at the end of the video where we can talk about like, okay, here's what we need to do from here on. Like, here's how we need to fix this. Or not fix this, but here's what we can do in the place of this card for the time being, right? Okay, so let's keep going. So you see here, and this is running Queen. This is another card that's pretty expensive because it's part of a starter deck. It's part of ST04. So I'm just going to say this up front. This is not a cheap deck. This is not a cheap deck to get into unless you already had these cards. If you already had some of these cards like Gordon and Queen, getting the EB01 cards, like Kitty Killers are rare. Tony Chopper is an SR, and Bond Clay is a secret rare. So this card might be a little pricey. We'll have to see how things go because it's an EB01 set. It's kind of different. I think this will be more accessible than most secret rares. But still, with this being a secret rare, it's going to be a little more pricey. Tony Chopper being a super rare will be a little pricier as well. But probably not, because I don't think this is in any other deck except, you know, what is this called? Except Red Purple Law. But Kid and Killer is just a rare. I can't imagine this card being super expensive. Like maybe on the first week, obviously you got to be careful with first week prices, but y'all see what I'm saying. Okay, so again, let me go back now. This is the list we were looking at right here. Can y'all see this okay on the screen? Nice, yeah. This was a 300-player tournament we just looked at, that deck list we just looked at. Unfortunately, 4 cards are missing, or 5 cards are missing, like we said, or like I was saying. But this was a 300-player tournament from the East, a flagship tournament from Thailand, where Red Purple Law was able to get first place over Lucci's, Reijus, and Nami. Look at this, guys. 2 top 8 Namis in a 300-player tournament. That's a little scary for some people, like myself included. Like, that's a little bit scary. But here's the thing. One of Nami's worst matchups will obviously be the super aggressive swing wide decks like Red Purple Law. So we'll have to see how things shape up over in the East. But other than that, let me go ahead and... so real quick, notice how many entries there are for OP07. Whoops, EB01 and OP07 in the East. Gosh, I'm sorry, guys. There are 379 total entries. Now check this out. If we sort by Red Purple Law, just to give you guys an idea of how strong this deck is, this is 52 of those entries. So 52 out of 360. So let's just say 50 out of 350. That's like 1/7 of the format, right? Of winning decks. Like obviously we don't see the decks that aren't winning. So that is a pretty big testimony to how strong this deck is currently. We're gonna look at 2 more lists here. So we just looked at this first place 300-player one. Then we're gonna look at the other one in the same tournament that got a top 8, and then we'll look at one more list down here that did well in a 64-player tournament. So this is interesting. This is another OP07 card that this list was running, and this was top 8 in the 300-player tournament. And I keep saying 300-player tournament, guys, because just to put some context on that, we have not seen any big tournaments from the East. Like 300 players, I think, is the biggest tournament we've seen so far in OP07 from the East. So it is kind of a big deal. Okay, so here we have Ain. This is a different Ain. I wonder if, you never know with how messed up. No, actually, they're running both Ains. But anyway, this is a 7-cost, 6,000 power character with on play, set up to one of your opponent's character's power to 0 for the turn. So guess what? You play this card out, you've got a 7-cost 6K on the board, and you can pop anything with your leader's effect with that combination right there. So that is very, very strong. Very powerful stuff there. It's running the 4 Gordons. Now, here you go. This is good to look at. This is not running Raise Max. So, in other words, you can swap out Gordon with Raise Max. They're the same exact card, right? Gordon and Raise Max are the exact same card. Okay? And this one does have all 51 cards in it. So, if you're looking for a more budget option, good news. Instead of running Gordon here, just run Raise Max. That's really good stuff there. It's running the 4 Otamas, the Kid and Killers. It is running the queens. So I'm guessing that the East has decided that queen is the way to go. I was not running queen in my list. I've run it in the past, but in the list you're going to watch me play today on the sim, I was not running queen. But I am running the Tony choppers. I was not running Ain. I think this is very interesting, and I think this is very good. This basically takes the place of Ace. Some might argue that Ace is better in some ways because it's a 7-cost 7K, but at the same time, I think this one might be a little bit better. Sanji, now this is the one card for OP07 we do need eventually, right? Like this is the one card we will not be able to play with that's in most lists. Because I will say this, guys, this is my first time seeing Ain pop up, but who knows? OP07, you know, like I said, has not had a lot of big major tournaments. Maybe this is a card we'll see pop up more often. It's running the 4 Trafalgar Laws. I forgot to talk about this in the first deck. Hand destruction is everything right now, guys. If you watch videos from the East of people doing play testing, excuse me, or if you look at, like, you know, any of the videos I've been doing on this, just watch any of the games you can find on decks from the East. Getting to 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 cards in hand is just, it's happening all the time because there's so much card draw from, you know, people are starting to have access to so much card draw that having hand destruction is becoming very, very important. So this card, outstanding, and it's a blocker, and it's a 1K counter, and we can cheat out with our leader's effect. Now that's a lot of Dawn you're losing in one turn. That's like -4 for the turn, but still, if it gets 2 cards out of their hand and now it's on the board as a blocker, you know, you're gonna have to weigh each situation, but that seems like it's worth it. Okay, and then we'll look at one more deck list here. This 64-player tournament from Japan. This was about 2 weeks ago. Excuse me. And this list is still running the Ace instead of that Ain card we saw, and this one is still running Zoros. This was something like, at first, what we had to run was Zoro before we got access to Kid and Killer. But hey, Zoro is still a strong card. It's a 3-cost 5K rusher. I mean, that's just good. That's just high value, right? Now, this one's also running Shariah. I do like Shariah. That is a card I have to recommend. It's hard to balance. Like, do you want to run Shariahs or do you want to run Choppers? Because you probably can't run both. Maybe you can, maybe you can't. If you go like 2 and 2 or something, I'm not sure. But Shariah is excellent. And I mean, it is excellent against Black-Yellow Luffy. Black-Yellow Luffy it goes very tall, and this can match the leader's power. So that's very important on offense and defense, like defensively and offensively. Everything else seems like it's about the same. We've seen all these other cards here. Good stuff. Okay, we've checked out some lists from over in the East. Let's go ahead and hop over to some games on the sim. Hang on one second. Let me move my face over here. Let me expand the screen. Get all set up. Y'all bear with me. Okay. Volume is off. Let me get the speed up to 2x. And we are off to the races. So first game here, guys, we have Green, Jewelry Bonney. This is OP07. And all the games we're watching today is on the OP07 or in the OP07 format. Right here, they want to be aggressive into me. I want to be aggressive into them. I'm not sure if they should be aggressive into me, but it's what I want to do. Okay, real quick. So I could have swung for one. I could have swung for a 6 there. That was a slight mistake because I played out. This is a nice little turn 2 play when your opponent doesn't have anything on the board and you're just trying to keep some aggression up. Playing out this new card, Bond Clay, on 4 Dawn. And by the way, you do want to go second. Okay, typically speaking, you want to go second. Maybe against Gecko, you want to go first. We'll have to see. But going second is a big, big deal. So if you can go turn 2, play out Bond Clay to ramp a Dawn, you can swing for 6 with your leader, and then return, Return 3 Dawn with the leader's effect. Sorry, guys, I had just a blank there. And then you can play out Shashi and Penguin to return 2 more Dawn, and you end up at 4 Dawn after getting these 2 bodies out. Very strong turn 2 play. And if they played any little characters, you could bottom deck it at the same time. Okay, so he plays out an Uruj here. I still don't know how to say that name, guys. I'm sorry. But I have decided I'm going to be aggressive with this guy. He taps on my Shashi and Penguin. I swing 5 into him with the Bond Clay. But right here, I'm going to minus 2,000 with Otama. Hang on. Notice what's happening. Let me let this go off. There. So watch what happened here. He had a 5,000 power character on the board. This is why Otama is very, very important. Minus 2,000 to the 5,000 character. Now he's 3,000. I can use other cards on him. Now I can use my leader's effect on him. I play out my 5-cost kid, Eustace Kid, first. Okay? Then I return 3 Dawn, use the leader effect to bottom deck his character, play out Bond Clay, and I ramp 2 more Dawn. So now I'm going to swing 7 for the turn, and I have a full board now. I mean, I guess, sort of. You know, Otama's not exactly a full board, but you know what I mean. And we're in a good spot here. They're at 4 life, we're at 3, we have a full board. He's swinging into my my Bond Clay. I probably should have protected it with Captain Kidd, but I really don't want to risk losing Captain Kidd. That's like the main thing. That is the main thing, is you don't want to risk losing that card. And he'd have kept it tapped down with this Jewelry Bonney probably if I had tapped it. Okay, so I swung for 6. Now I'm swinging for 7. I am getting rid of that Jewelry Bonney. I do not want it on the board, so I'm going to give it minus 3,000 with Gordon, use my leader effect to bottom deck it, play out my Kid and Killer, swing 5, play out another Kid and Killer, attach the 1 Dawn I have left for the turn, and just, I am all in. You have to think about how difficult the situation is if you are the Jewelry Bonney here. He swings 5 into my 1K, like, okay, you can have that, but what are you going to do, right? Like, what is she going to do from here? They do keep one of my Kid and Killers tapped down with that Jewelry Bonney, but I don't really care anymore. I'm just, everything's going face. So when he tapped down my other Kid and Killer, I have to kind of mess with the board here a little bit. It's like, okay, let me Jewelry Bonney, or let me get rid of the Jewelry Bonney with my Raise Max, play out my Raise You to get 2 more cards in hand. I got 2 2K counters, which was really nice. I go 11 into 8. He can protect it, so I go 5 into face, and now it's like, okay, I can get out of a 8,000 power attack, and maybe even more than that if you attack into my 6K. Or no, yeah, he went 10 into it. That was smart because I had 2 cards in hand. But I get the Otama off the top here. I'm getting this card out of the way. -3. You know, that was a blocker, by the way. That's a new card some people might not know about yet. I'm swinging 7. He's going to arrest one of my guys. And that's pretty much it, right? We're going to go 8 into him and then 5. GG. Good stuff. So as you can see, guys, this deck is hyper aggressive. Very, very strong deck here. All right, let's go to the next game. That was Bonney. Okay, now we have a game against Black Yellow Luffy. Let me go up to 2x speed. Okay, so Black Yellow Luffy is it's just a good deck, right? It just simply is a good deck. Let me make sure my recording's going okay up here. I'm sorry, guys. Yep, everything looks good. Okay, sorry about that. And this guy takes his first life with Makino, so that's a 2K counter out of hand. And that's typically what they have to do, right? They usually have to take their own life just so that they can get to their leader effect as fast as possible. So I'm going to deny him attacks against his leader. He's going to swing for 5 here. I'm going to take it, but then he swings for 6 with Garp. I do remember this. He swings 6 with Garp, so I'm going to 2K counter out of that. I don't want to take too much damage too early on. I'll be in trouble later. So 5 into Garp, he's not going to defend that. I play out the 5-cost Kid. This is like the main card in the deck that allows you to just get so much value. And then I totally just drop Gordon here. It's like, okay, if you have a 5-cost Luffy and you can somehow get down to 2 life where you can pop one of my characters, you're going to have to choose very, very wisely. Because that Gordon and that Chopper is going to allow me to get rid of anything I want on the board. And here you go. We're going to use it right away. -3,000 on your Luffy. I'm going to play out this Beppo to gain a Dawn. I'm going to return 3 Dawn, and his guy goes away, and I'll play out a Raise You to draw 2 more cards. And I'm still just kind of chilling, right? Like, I'm not really doing much here. I want him to start feeling very uncomfortable, because next turn I'm going to be able to swing 6 times, potentially 7 if I use a card from hand with my Kid and Killer. He plays out Sabo. That is scary, scary time against a deck like this, right? Because if he plays it out Sabo and I can bottom deck it, he can't get it back from his trash later with his recursion, with his back from trash effects, like with his leader effect. Now he does go to 7,000 this turn, and he trashes. He has 3 2-cost Sabos in the trash, by the way. Excuse me. So I'm thinking he messed up right there, or maybe I don't know what he was trying to do. Like something messed up there where he tried to play out a card that he did not have on. Like he tried to play out one of the 2-cost guys to get a 5-cost in play, and he didn't even have it. So right there, I am not even going to throw 1 attack at him because I don't want him to block with Sabo. I don't want him to have that in his trash. So right there, I swing with the Beppo just so I can gain life, and then he plays out a Kuzan. And I'm confused at this point. It's like, wait a minute, so you're at 5 life right now with 2 life. Okay. Well, I have a Kid and Killer in hand, so I guess it's time to just, like, you know, I don't know. There's a lot of things I could do here. I swing with Beppo to gain a Dawn. 7 into 5. Let's see what he gives me. It might be time to start going all in here. Right? That's what's going through my head. Because you have to really pick and choose when it's time to go all in. He gets 3 Brothers Bond. I didn't reveal it. I got to see what it was, but I didn't reveal it on the stream, unfortunately. Or excuse me, on the video. Swing 7 into him. That was for a no Dawn investment. 2 cards out of hand. Okay, so now we're doing 5. Really annoy him. You know, where he has to give me a little 1K. Or if he only has 2Ks, that'd be even better. Okay, so got the Sabo out of his hand. Swing 7 into face. Swing 7 more into face. And then, you guessed it, I'm going to trash, or excuse me, I'm going to return 3 Dawn, get rid of that card, and we're coming in for 7 more. He got out of it, but now it's GG, right? Because he can swing twice. I'm not going to let him have that. I was confused here, like, wait a minute, why didn't you just, like, load everything up to get rid of these characters? Because he could have at least, let me pause it because the game's over now. Let me just show y'all, and he's just going to have given up. Yeah. He should have at least got rid of those characters, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day because he can only get rid of 2 characters, so I'll still have 3 attacks left. So it'll be 5, 5, and 5, and game's over. Good stuff there. I do think that Red Purple Law has a pretty decent matchup into Black Yellow Luffy, and I didn't even get Shiraya that game. That was a little bit of a wonky list, I will say. That list was a little bit different than what we're used to with the Kuzans. I do not recommend Kuzan in a Black Yellow Luffy. But hey, let the guy cook, right? Let the man cook. So right here we got a mirror match, Red Purple Law into Red Purple Law. Going second is a massive advantage into Red Purple Law. Just giving you guys a heads up, it is massive. This guy is aggressively doing what he needs to do to fill up the board. Gets out he swung 5 into me twice there. I had to counter out a 1, and he gets a second body out, staying at 2 Dawn, which is important. You know, very, very good turn for him. So I'm in the tank here a little bit. Like mentally, I'm thinking like, okay, how do we battle for this? Okay, he's going to give me a target to attack, then I'm going to attack that target. Like, okay, that's a Zoro, well, then that's a card out of hand. Even though he got to keep the Zoro, it's still a card out of hand. So I go ahead and bottom deck that card, do some shenanigans there, go up to 3 Dawn with the Shashi and Penguin, and now I've got a decent little board here. I want to take 1 attack a turn. So look what he does here. Loads up 4 on the leader and comes in for 9. I remember this. And I really wanted to save my chopper here and just take the hit, but I think it's a little too dangerous against a deck like Red Purple Law. Because I actually thought he was going to return 3 Dawn and play out like, what's his name, Kid and Killer. I thought that was a real option that he was going to do. So here we go, 5 and a Zoro, and he figured it out, like, wait a minute, if I keep defending the Zoro, it's going to keep getting, you know, I'm going to keep losing cards from hand. So I play out the Eustace Captain Kidd, which allows me to, you know, return Dawn, play out 4 costs, keep getting Dawn back, and I play out a Gordon here. I understand that he can use his leader effect to get rid of my Gordon, but I'm daring him to do that, right? Because it's like, would you rather get rid of my Gordon or my Eustace Captain Kidd? Because that's a, you know, depending on what's in his hand, that is a actual question. You know, that's a legitimate question. So right here, I'm like, okay, he's trying to get me to block with the Captain Kidd, so that way he can have that go away, and then he can bottom deck my Gordon. I'm not going to let him have that. The Kid and Killer comes out. That was very nice. Hey, I'm just going to keep attacking into him like this. And I just want to keep getting value from his hand. I want to keep getting cards from his hand for free with my attacks. So 6 into 5, he lets it go. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, if that's the case, minus 2,000 there. That's the promo Trafalgar Law. I do still run that. A lot of decks in the East are just sticking with the minus 3,000 power cards, which I get it. Those cards are incredible. Especially now that we have Chopper as well for like recurring value. So he plays out the Queen. Very nice. Trashing his Ace. Yeah, I do agree with that. Ace is not going to be great against me. Plays out Gordon. He's going to get to pick and choose what he wants to get rid of here. But I have a bond. Okay, yeah. He goes ahead. He goes ahead and gets rid of my Bond Clay. That was the correct call because that card would be my biggest attacker next turn if he didn't get rid of it. And then he just kind of quits out. So I got to pause and let me go back. So he swings 5, and I think I can't do it fast enough, guys. I'm sorry. Let me just leave right here. I think after this attack, he assumed like, oh, wait a minute. I should have attacked the Reiju. And he should have. He absolutely should have. Because right there, I think I'm just going to take that attack and go down to one card in life. And then I've got 2 blockers in hand. So he definitely should have. I think he definitely should have like gone for the Reiju, but he just determined right there, I guess the game's over. I don't know. I don't think I'd have given up that easily, but who knows? He might have had it. And that happens sometimes. You just get fed up or you meant to do something else, and it happens. Okay, next up we got Enel. I try to get a bunch of good games for y'all for Red Purple Law, because number one, it's easy to get games. Red Purple Law, these games are very fast, because he's just going wide, going aggressive, going fast. So it was nice, getting these games in. And one more thing I have to say while we're waiting for this, see what I do here. When you're playing on the sim, if you go in with kind of a janky deck, like an off-meta deck, into a big leader, like a leader like Enel, like Lucci, like Jory Bonney, well, guess what? They just won't even play you sometimes, because like I'm not going to waste my time playing against this deck. And I understand it. I respect it. I get it. It makes me sad, but I do see where they're coming from. Okay, so there's like one of my favorite plays in the early game. Bond Clay into Penguin, bottom decking their 1 or 2 cost character. Just, 3,000 power or less character, but y'all know what I mean. It allows me to fill up the board, keep my Dawn strong, remove cards from their side. And I am very aggressive with my Otamas, typically speaking. Okay, so right now I'm going to swing 5 first. And I think I should have swung 5 with Bond Clay here, to be completely honest with y'all. But anyway, I do minus 2,000 to the Frankie, use my leader effect to hit him off, to you know, bottom deck him, play out my Reiju, draw some cards. I've got Dawn here. I'm swinging 6. And again, I think I should have attacked with Bond Clay, because you'll see later, it's like he's not safe there, right? You know, that card is not safe. There's no other way around it. 10 into 5, you can have my my Shashin Penguin. That thing already did its job. It's smart to still go for it. You do have to go for board control, at least to some extent, like when you're going to get someone who goes this wide. But I'm not worried about that. So swing 5. I'm just trying to get a card out of his hand or a card out of his life every single turn, or every single attack here. Okay, so not having a character on the board means my what's his name? My Bond Clay has like no target. He can't even attack. So I basically missed 2 attacks with him, because last turn he would have swung 10 into my Bond Clay and I still would have just let it go, but my Shashin Penguin would have been able to attack this turn. So realistically, I missed 2 actual attacks that turn. He gets another Shirahoshi trigger, by the way. His first life was a Shirahoshi trigger. The second life he set with Hiyori. That's fair, I guess, but still, he gets that second Shirahoshi. That does not feel good. I'm like, oh gosh, but that's all right. Coming in for 7 with Kid and Killer, return 3 Dawn, bottom deck Shirahoshi. Right here, I'm thinking about playing out, yeah, the new Sanji card. Now, I do apologize. This will not be accessible to us in the East, or excuse me, in the West, until OP07 hits in probably about a month or 2. So he pops my Bond Clay. The Bond Clay did absolutely nothing. I mean, I guess it did eat 1 attack, right? It did take up 1 attack, but that's about it. Or one KO effect, I should say. So swing 6 in with Reiju. I'm trying to get 2Ks out of his hand now. I want to get all the 2Ks out of his hand so I can start connecting every time with my 7K attacks. Okay, he takes that, and let's see what he gets. I think I'm waiting for him to do a trigger. Excuse me. Oh no, I'm actually just seeing what I want to play now. Yeah, I think in this situation, what I should have done is play out Raise Max, play out, minus 3,000 to Yamato, play out the other Raise Max, minus 3,000 to Yamato, bottom deck it, and play out that Sanji like I just did there, and gone about it that way. But instead, I try to get a little extra value from my Shashin Penguin, like to get the Dawn ramp from him. But I don't know. I just think I should have got rid of the Yamato, and you'll see why literally on this turn. So he's gonna play out another Yamato, pops my guy, and then I'm gonna have to deal with this now. Whereas I could have been so much more aggressive there and not worried about having to deal with this Yamato attack, and it makes the game way closer than it should have been. Not that it's over or anything, right? Like the game is, I still have a grip full of cards. I can play loads of blockers. I can remove one of these Yamatos no problem. Honestly, I probably could have removed both of them, by using all 3 of my minus 3,000s in hand, because I could have gone minus 6,000 to one of them to bottom deck it with leader effect. Then I could have gone, hang on one second, guys. So I have a small oversight in this one. Hang on one second. So I could have gone minus 6,000 to one of my Yamatos and bottom decked it with my leader effect, and then minus 3,000 to the other one to get him down to 6, and swung 6 into him like 4 times, you know what I mean? Or even 7 into him to get that card off the board. And then I have full board control. I still have my blocker. I still have 1 life, and I could finish out that turn by playing like a small blocker, like Chopper, that I don't care about if I lose. So right here, the guy's actually about to leave the game, because I have lethal just going straight into his face, attach 4 Dawn to my useless kid, and go everything at face. So real quick, we're going to go back just a little bit here. Okay, and we got to talk about how this turn panned out. So I swing 7 into leader, and he takes it. I swing 7 more into leader. He takes it, but changes out his life. I swing 7 more into leader. He gets a beige trigger and turns off my leader attack. So right there, I decided I'm not going to attack anymore, because he has 6 cards in hand. I'm not going to risk a 10K attack that he can get 2K counters out of. You know what I mean? Like 3 2K counters out of, or something like that. So I just decided I'm going to go about it the safe way, and he just leaves. Excuse me, guys. I was just going to remove one of the Yamatos and play another blocker and just take him out next turn, right? That was my logic, but he had no counter in hand. If I had just loaded up 10, I would have won right there, and I guess he just kind of was giving it to me, saying like, hey, you got it. I respect that, but I was still trying to play like he had all 2K counters in hand. You know what I mean? Better safe than sorry, because I've lost way too many games being risky. Okay, now we got kind of a funner matchup here, one you don't see very often. Mono yellow Linlin. Mono yellow. Not black yellow Linlin, but mono yellow. Let me take a sip of my water real quick, guys, while this is starting off. All right, sorry about that. So I'm going to start off with the Shariah here. This is just a high value card, but it's very easy to get rid of. Okay, right here he tries to swing for 7 with Linlin, so I just use my Shariah and 1K counter out. That card is very, very solid, guys. I think I only run 2 in the deck, but I wish I could run 4. It's all about making the cards fit, like, you know, fitting all the cards in a 50-card deck, like all the different options you want, and keeping it consistent. It's hard to do. So right here, I'm like, okay, you know, I think I need to be aggressive. That was what was going through my head. Remember, Kid and Killer is just a 5K rusher, unless they have 2 or less life. Then he becomes a 7K rusher. Okay, so I bottom deck his card there. Play out a Shashi and Penguin to keep my Dawn high. I've got Shariah in case he tries to attack for something crazy. Like if he tries to get rid of my Kid and Killer, I can defend it if I need to. But I'm not too worried about that either. Okay, but if that's like his turn where he has 4 Dawn left, I'm obviously going to block out of it and use a 1K counter. And see, if that were Ain, like a lot of the decks in the East were running Ain, if that were Ain, I wouldn't be able to counter out like the way I did. I'd have to use my promo law or my 2K counter. Let me make sure I'm at 2x speed real quick, guys. I'm sorry. Yeah, we are. We're good. So it's like, okay, well, I mean, I'm just going to start beating this guy down. So you know, swing 7, start attacking face here. He 2K, 1K's out. Very smart, because then my Kid and Killer becomes a 7K attacker. But I'm like, okay, swing 7. And swing 7. You know, it didn't really change anything, right? He gets a soul poke because I'm trashing my top life in that situation every single time. Bottom deck is Guy. Play out my Sanji. That is really nice. It would have still been fine to play out something else there. Like if you know, in EB01 we still have access to, like I think it was a card from OP06 called or gosh, I can't remember. I think it might have been from the ST10 deck, the Kalamazoo the other 2K counter we were running in Law. I'll show you guys at the end of the video. Excuse me. So swing 7 at leader here. He's in a world of trouble. He does get a beige. You know, he did set the beige with his Edward Newgate and his leader effect and all that stuff. That's fine. It's fine. But right here, it's like, hey, man, I'm still coming in for 7 quite a few times. And right here, I'm like, okay, he has... okay, you have this option. It's like, do I go one more turn here? And I think the answer is yes, right? The answer for me in my head was like, I have 2 blockers and 3 life. Swinging 5, I'm not going to let you have it for 5, right? I'm just going to block out for free there. Swing 7 into 5. He really wants that card gone. I get it. Plays out ace, 10 into 6. You got it, bud. But you're still going to have to get through, or you're still going to have to survive from 4 attacks, right? Potentially more if I had rushers in hand. Kikinojo, I'm not worried about at all. Swing 6, and that's game. And again, I just kind of was able to... This deck is able to go so wide, it becomes very hard to counter out of. Very, very hard to counter out of. Okay. Next up, we got another game of Bonney, and then the last game is another game of Enel. Let me go 2x speed here. And these games are pretty quick. Like, compared to like some of the other games we've seen, this is more of an aggro, aggressive deck, right? So the games are a little bit quicker than normal. So I'm going to swing 5 here. He's probably like, oh, why didn't you attack Bonney? It's like, well, because I'm going to, you know, play out Chopper, then bottom deck your Bonney, and then play out Shashi and Penguin, and now we're both at 4 life. I'm being very aggressive here. I'm trying to be very, very aggressive here. Generally speaking, like, yes, this is just the sim, but generally speaking, I do think that Bonney and Red Purple Law is going to be a pretty good matchup. So I swing with my 5K here, my Shashi and Penguin, because I want to see if he actually wants to tap down my blocker or not. So when he does, it's like, okay, you know, that's going to make me really want to play out my my Shariah. And I can do that. And I really, really wanted to play out Reiju there, but it would have put me at 1 Dawn, so 3 Dawn next turn. It's just too risky. So he's got 6 Dawn active, so I'm like, okay, let me just 2K counter out. Let me just see what he tries here. I'm not sure exactly what he's going for, but if he has a Jewelry Bonney, he can keep a card tapped, so I don't want him to do that to my Shariah. But at the same time, maybe I'd rather him do it to the Shariah than the Chopper. So, I don't know. I probably could have saved the 2K counter there. Plays out Basil Hawkins. Okay, if I remember correctly, he has 2 Basil Hawkins. Like, if this is the game I'm thinking of, he had 2 Basil Hawkins, and he revealed it from his search. From one of his searches. I don't remember what the other one's from. Oh, he had 2 searches. He used the Event Searcher and the Jewelry Bonney 1-cost searcher. So I did see that he has 2 Basil Hawkins, and I was playing accordingly. Like, I was trying to play accordingly. Okay, so I swing 6 at him here. I think he took it. I'm going to swing 5 more. I've turned his Basil Hawkins into a 4K blocker. So that thing is, like, worthless right now, right? Like, that thing does not help him at all. I still can't get rid of it the way I'd like to because, you know, I have to tap down my characters first before I can try to bottom deck him. Because, for those who are not aware, Basil Hawkins cannot use his effect if there's no character to tap down. I didn't make the rules, guys, but that is the ruling on it. Like, that is like the official ruling on it. Okay, so I go ahead and play out a Erasure here to fill up my hand and keep the board. I want to keep the board as wide as possible. Yes, he, excuse me. Yes, he does have a lot of cards in hand, but I have a lot of attacks coming in. Okay, so let's see what he does here. I think he wants to play the other Basil Hawkins, if I remember correctly, because he wants to get rid of some of the cards on my board, but he wants to keep the blockers going. So swing for 6. He's doing some math to see what he can do for this turn. 6 into 4. I'm like, oh gosh, okay. Let me just. I really want to save this card. I really, really want to save it. So I give him a 2K, 1K because I had a feeling he was going to swing into it with his Basil Hawkins, and he never did. So right here, I'm going to swing for 6 into Bonney, minus 3,000 to one of his dudes. He taps down my Kid and Killer with the leader effect. That effect is so powerful. But that's okay. That's like his only blocker that he can use, right? The other blocker will just go, you know, is just in trouble. He's at 1 life. So I'm going to swing 6 a bunch of times here to get as many 2K counters out of his hand or double 1K counter. Or a blocker. Hey, I'll take a blocker too, right? Okay. See what he does here. I'm swinging 6 into him. Swinging 6. Again, this is just becoming, look at that, double 1K. So I know he has no more 2K counters in hand. He has 6 cards in hand and not one of them's a 2K counter. Okay. So right here, he's got a lot of work to do. 6 into 4, I have to use Shariah this time because I just don't have a better way to get out of it. And that does at least put my Shariah at a 6, so it's easier to counter out of. So right here, sorry guys, my mustache is just itching my nose. Right here, he should have gone for my chopper. Like something, he should have done something to try to take out my chopper. Because right here, I'm just going to minus 3 his Eustace Kid. Now I'm swinging 6 into 5. He has to use a blocker. I'm going to go 7 into 5. He uses the little blocker. I'm fine with that. You know, that card's off the field. Swing 7 into 5. Remember, he has no 2K counters. So unless he drew a 2K counter, like from, you know, his turn, he has no more 2K counters. So 6 into 5, that guy's he's out of here, buddy. He's out of here. 7 into 5, GG. And I still had 1 more attack, technically, if I needed to, with Shariah. I felt really good about that game. In fact, I think I probably should have swung with 5 with Shariah first, like technically speaking, and then swung 7 with my leader, just because I had lethal in sight. Okay, we got 1 more game, guys. Like I said, we had 7 games today. We had 7 games of Red Purple Law. And this one is against Enel. We had 2 Enel games, 2 Jewelry Bonney games, a Black Yellow Luffy game. Pretty decent ones here. Pretty fun games. Not saying they were the best players, but, you know, they were still fun games to watch. And their matchups you're probably going to be seeing a lot of in the future. So this knucklehead here just comes at me for 6 banish. I can't just give him a card for banish like that. It's too important. I'd rather 2K counter out of it early. And him playing Nami that aggressively really makes me wonder, like, what is going on here? So I'm like, all right, let me swing 5 at face, see if he gets any trigger. Doesn't get a trigger. I play out Beppo to gain a Dawn. Or excuse me, I played out Beppo and did not gain a Dawn. And that's one of the situations where Ain would have been better. Remember we were talking about which one would be better? I still think it's Beppo, guys. I'm still going with Beppo because that turn he did give me a Dawn. And now if he cannot take out my Beppo, he's going to be generating a Dawn for me every single turn. Okay? So here we go. This is his 7 Dawn turn. He's going to swing 8 at my leader. I'm going to take it. And 7 with, what's their name, with Nami. Use my blocker and 2K counter out. That's why 6K counter, or 6,000 power blockers are so good. I play out another blocker. Bottom deck his guy. Play out my Reiju to draw some cards. I still can gain a Dawn with my Beppo this turn. I think. I might have swung, or I might not have swung early enough. Or am I trying to wait? Excuse me. I'm actually trying to wait. I still should have swung with Beppo in my personal opinion. That's just, yeah, and see, he popped it anyway. But that's okay. I still have plenty of attackers here. And I have another 5-cost Eustace Kid in my hand. That card in this deck is pure value, guys. Because understand what it does. Eustace Kid, whenever you return, once per turn, when you return Dawn to your Dawn deck, you can add a Dawn from your Dawn deck active. So you can use, you know, Dawn that's already been used up and just like accelerate that way and like get extra value every turn with it. It's very, very important. And he's a 5-cost 6K blocker, 1K counter. He's everything we need. So right here, I'm like, dude, you're gonna have to give me some cards right here, buddy. You know, like, I'm coming in for 7 with my what's his name? 7 with the Eustace Kid. Now I'm going to play out a Reiju, replacing another one, get a bunch of Dawn here. I'm just going straight at this guy. 7 there and 8 here. And I've got a blocker. I don't have a ton of counter power, but I've got plenty of counter power to get out of something here if I need to. And I've got my blocker. I've got 2 life. He's going to have to drop something huge here. He'll have to drop like a 10 cost ace maybe. But if he does that, I can easily counter out of his leader's attack with a 1k, and I can save whatever I need to with Shiraya whenever he tries to swing in with, like, Yamato. He attaches 1 Dawn, so I'm like, oh, well, that's not good for him, right? That's really not good. So then he swings for 9 at my guy. I can't let him have that blocker over Shiraya. I'd rather give him the Shiraya. And right here, yes, he does gain a life, but now it's going to be, I'm taking all your, look at that, no 2k counter. So these 6s become unstoppable. I don't know what he drew from his life, so I'm giving him 7, and then I'm going to come in for, like, you know, whatever was left, 6 plus 6, 12. So, GG. Good stuff. Okay, let's go ahead and check out the deck that I was using, guys. I think there's plenty of room for improvement. This is what I was running. I can't make up my mind on Tony Chopper and Shiraya. I think you guys saw a case for both of them in what we just in what we were just playing. Let me move my head. Look at that. I almost forgot, guys. I almost forgot. There we go. So here's what I was trying to say. The Tony Chopper here from EV01 and Shiraya from OP06. These 2 cards kind of fill the same slot, but they're different roles. It comes down to, like, what do you need? Now, one thing I'll say right away, if you're not running Gordon, I would highly recommend the Choppers, because that's another way to do power reduction. Massive. That is absolutely massive. But if you do have the Raise Max and the Gordons, and I'm even running Trafalgar Laws and Otamas, I'm running tons and tons and tons of power reduction. Then Shiraya probably becomes more useful. You know, it's hard to say. It's hard to say for sure, and maybe it's a preference thing. And the same thing with Beppo. Like, it looked like the guys we were looking at were running Ain. Like, a lot of the players in the East were running Ain. Let me let this come up real quick for all the purple cards. There we go. Hang on a second. It takes it a second for it to like, load in. It's hard to explain. That's just how the sim is. Okay, I think I got it right here. Yeah, there we go. All right, so this one loaded in. Now let me grab the red cards. This one might take a while. But the only card that we can't use currently in this list is the Sanji, and that's what I was going to say from earlier. Hang on, let me let this load real quick. I always touch it 3 times here. Oh, no. Uh-oh. There we go. It did catch up. So the other card that I was going to recommend, where I just got tongue-tied over, or tongue-twisted over, was this guy right here. Hitakiri Kamizo. If you don't have the Sanjis, this is a nice replacement for now. The card is not great. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. Like, it's not like the card is fine, but the effect doesn't really matter to us. Like, it's so rarely used. But who knows? Actually, let me take that back. If Black-Green Perona becomes very strong in the future, maybe this card is all of a sudden like the 2k counter to swap to or something. I don't know. Maybe you swap out the Otamas or something. I don't know. But this card is fine for the time being over Sanji, since we don't have access to this yet in OP0. We're still in EB01, OP06. This comes out in OP07. You know, we don't have access to this yet in the West. Other 2k counters are fine too. Like, I mean, anything you want to, honestly, anything you want to try in here is something you could try, but just make sure you read it. Like Koala needs a revolutionary army leader. There's no point in trying that. Khalifa might be something decent to mess around with if you don't have some of these other 2k counters. But you want it to be a 4 cost or lower card, even something potentially like Miss Doublefinger, not as much, you know, not so much, but there is some potential there. Ulti's a nice 4 cost 5k, even if you're not running the page 1 combo with it, that's still fine. For a while, I think people were messing around with a Buena Fiesta film version of Red Purple Law, because Raise Max, Shiraya, Gordon, the Trafalgar Law, the promo Trafalgar Law, and maybe a few other cards. That might be it, actually. Yeah, those 4 that I was just saying, those are all, you know, film searchable cards. So Shiraya, or excuse me, not Shiraya, Buena Fiesta can search those up. So that is something to consider, you know, if you're maybe if you don't have some of these cards, you want to try a different route with the deck. That's about it for the 2k counters. I don't know if I'd suggest any of the other ones. Like, I don't think Sanji's that... Like, I don't think we need Sanji in a deck like this because of how aggressive it is. I don't think Sanji's the right call. But, you know, try it if you want to, right? I don't want to discourage you guys from trying something if you really want to. This would be another thing if you're going to go the film engine with Buena Fiesta. This would be kind of cool to mess with as well, and maybe even potentially this Beppo. So good stuff there. As far as like some potential replacements. Like I said, if you don't have Gordon or this Trafalgar Law, because these guys are getting expensive in their promos, so I don't see the price fluctuating at all on them. They're just probably going to stay high until they get reprinted. I think there might be a new promo law being reprinted soon, or not reprinted, but like coming out in like a Bandai Premium Pack. I'm not exactly sure. We'll have to see about that. What else do we got here? So for the rushers, let me type that in real quick as well. If you don't have access, or you're not going to be able to get access to the Kidding Killers for a while, Zoro is still fine. It is not as good. Like, understand, in this kind of deck, in the deck that we're building, this card is not as good as Kidding Killer. It's just simply not, right? It's just simply not good. But it's excuse me, Zoro is just simply not as good as Kidding Killer. I got distracted there. I'm sorry, guys. Zoro is good, but not as good as Kidding Killer for what we're trying to do. This Ace does not have Rush. It just doesn't, right? Like, unfortunately, Ace does not have Rush for what we're trying to do. Now, one thing that would be interesting would be a card like Mina Chihuahua. Now Zoro is better than Mina Chihuahua for what we're doing, right? Because he costs 1 Dawn less, so you can play him out from hand easier if you need to do like a, a one-turn, knockout. But for the time being, if you don't have Kidding Killer and you're trying to run both Zoro and, another rusher, maybe you could play this, because he's EB01 as well, but he's like a common. So just something to consider, but you want to get your hands on Kidding Killer as soon as you can. Everything else is pretty straightforward. As far as like the Dawn ramp stuff goes, I don't really know how to search that up on here. Let me see if I type in Dawn with 2 exclamation points. No, it doesn't really. Let me see what it's, the wording on it. Add. Let me see if add comes up with no. Sorry guys, I don't know how to search up on the what's this called, the sim. Easy ways to get these cards that add Dawn. But the main cards to look at are Beppo, Bond Clay, and then Ain. And we'll talk about Ain. We'll talk about both of them. This is the one that ramps Dawn, and this is one that does power reduction. So honestly, like, you're good with either one of these in this deck, because what is this deck trying to do? It is trying to reduce the power of your opponent's characters while ramping with your characters. Characters that are small enough to cheat out, right? Cards like Ain, cards like Beppo, and all that good stuff. Eustace Captain Kidd is good as well. And yeah, that's really, I don't know. All I can say is this. I still think Beppo's better. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. I don't want to go on too much of like a rant with it, but I just feel like Beppo has way more utility in the fact that it has number one, it has a 1K counter, and number two, it can continually ramp Dawn, where now this becomes a target over something else on the board. Like, oh gosh, we have to get rid of that card because it has it has win attacking potential. Same thing with Tony Chopper. It kind of takes the place over one of these for their targets when they're trying to get rid of something. I think it's very important. Talking about the Beppo, Ain is still good and she has her uses, but like if you need a counter in hand, like from your life, just like a 1K counter to win a game, and you rip an Ain over a Beppo, I think you'll be really upset. But who knows, maybe at the same time, if you're like, yeah, but I just need a ramp a Dawn on turn 2, as opposed to like, Beppo not being able to, maybe there's an argument for that. I'm not sure. Trafalgar Law already explained. Oh, for blockers, let me look up blockers real quick. So the only other blocker that I can recommend, so Queen is the one that we want, right? We saw that, I think, in every single list that I looked at today. I'm not saying it's in every deck list, but if you don't have access to Queen, I would recommend maybe going Yanji. Yanji is just a nice 4-cost 5K, 1K counter blocker. And then if you have equal to or less Dawn on your field than your opponent, which is going to be often, right? Because we're playing Red Purple Law, right? Well, then he's a 6K. So he's a 4-cost 6,000 power blocker with a 1K counter. So he's a vanilla card with a blocker attached. And very, very importantly, he's a 4-cost card, so you can cheat him out with your leader effect if you need to. Something to consider at least. But everything else is kind of meh. We're not really, like, this requires a Baroque Works leader. Can't really do that. Jinbei is it would be good, but it says on opponent's turn, if your board has 10 Dawn, this character is plus 1,000. That's just never going to happen, right? So while it might seem like, oh, I'll just go him over Queen if I don't have Queen, like, because it's like a 1-to-1 comparison, it's really not, unfortunately, because you're not ever going to get to 10 Dawn with this deck. If you do, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. I shouldn't say like you're not going to, but it's highly unlikely. One other blocker I should mention, if you're going to go the film package, if you want to mess with the film package, Uda's a very solid choice in that, you know, for that if you decide to go that. Okay, I think that's it, guys. I think I'm done rambling. I think y'all probably heard enough at this point. We went over rushers, blockers, power reducers. I don't know like every power reducer by heart, but like I said, if you don't have the Gordons, guys, I would go up the Tony Choppers to the best of your ability. And soon, whenever that one card comes out that we were just looking at, Ain would be very good for this. Like, or excuse me, where is it? The 7 cost. The 7 cost Ain would be really strong for you. And the same thing with Ace. If you don't have access to the where is he? To the Gordons, maybe you want to go the Portgosti Aces, the 7 cost guy. That might be a good substitute for now. It's very different. I'm not gonna lie. It's just simply not as good. But for the time being, please, you know, I would recommend going 4 Otamas and 4 Raise Max. Otamas are a little pricier than they should be, I will say. In fact, I'll just bring it up real quick how much those cost. Otamas right now, because they're like all the way back from the beginning, those are like, I think they're $5 a card right now, guys. As crazy as that sounds. Yeah, let me bring it over. Like, here's OP01 Otama. These are going for like $5 a card. That card is... Guys, you gotta get your hands on these cards as soon as you can. You gotta get your hands on these cards as soon as you can. But real quick, what was I saying? This card is a good one to get. And what was the other one? Oh, the other one I wanted to check was Trafalgar Law. Trafalgar. Let me just type in Trafalgar. It'll find it. I want to see where this one's at, because this one's becoming hard to get as well. $13 for these cards, for this card as well, the promo law. Hopefully this gets reprinted soon, because I think I did see something from the East, you know, talking about it's going to be in a premium package soon. Okay, that's it, guys. I'm done rambling. Y'all tell me what y'all think down in the comment section below. Please do not forget to like and subscribe if you have not already. Let me get the patrons page up real quick. There we go. Big shout out to my patrons. Thank y'all so much, guys. Thank you for everyone who watches this channel, not just people who donate. Like, you know, big thank you to the people who donate, of course. But, you know, just for watching the channel, liking the videos, subbing, and sharing the videos, that means the world to me, guys. It helps me so much. The channel just keeps on growing, and I really appreciate you guys. I really do. So, again, you know, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you've not already. And if you guys got any comments, questions, suggestions, please put them down in the comment section below. I try to get to those as soon as I can. But, yeah, until next time, guys. Peace.